Hey guys, it's Peter or Mask of Momentum here, and today we are watching Michael Fang versus Joseph M in the finals of this PTI from Milwaukee. Lexi Livewire versus Dromai Ash artist here. Something that I want to look at in this game specifically is obviously Michael is the Pro Tour 3 reigning champion and definitely has a lot of experience playing Lexi. He's been playing Lexi for quite a while in this meta. I think the last couple months of battle hardens and PTIs and other all these events, I just see him just crushing it as Lexi or bringing Lexi to all these events every single time. So I obviously mastered the craft of Lexi at this point, so looks pretty good. Joseph is also using the time skippers, gain 3 Ash on turn 0, really good efficiency in for Dromai here. The thing that it does allow, Lexi to do is do exactly this. Low double arrow, basically never going to get punished for this, right? Because you're using 3 cards to get 3 Ash, and then the last card's going to be your arsenal, and Lexi can just get free double arrow here and just going through. Something that I want to say pretty interesting is that he's opting to play Tunic in this matchup because it's going to go long. I know in his semifinal matchup he played against Azuri specifically, and he was playing Trench. And it was a pretty... I never thought about playing Trench specifically versus Azuri, but I guess with all the on-hit effects of banishing your arsenal and all the interaction with your arsenal, you can just trench away a significant amount of the cards that you arsenal in that matchup, because it's especially a ponder or just naturally arsenaling, and then you're not getting and then you can Voltaire, using that one resource you get from the trench, load the other arrow, and then use basically a free resource on the other turn, so you can get even more value out of a lot of the stuff here. Something that is pretty interesting though is when you double load, as you can see his hand is Codex Blue, another arrow, CNC, right? For him to have go again, he does have to use Snapdragon Skiller, so he's going to commit that on the first turn of the game, and he is really looking at hamstring shot or endless arrow into snapdragons, and then arrow basically, right? So I think because he only has 1 arrow, I think you can start with the endless arrow here, unless you really want to get because you want a double hamstring shot most of the time, but he could save one of the hamstring shot, use one of the hamstring shots, the one from his hand, this turn, and then use another one in the next turn, right? So because you're using Snapdragon Skillers on one of these arrows, right, and you only have 1 arrow in hand, you need to use the Voltaire twice. So I think starting with Endless Arrow first is really good, because the Dromai might allow not double block the Endless Arrow specifically to allow you to get that second Voltaire activation, because out of hamstring shots is going to affect the turn more often than the endless arrow, although eventually Dromai does need to get rid of this endless arrow to and not have it get looped the entire game, right? Because endless arrow into ashes and into ash wings and into all these dragons will allow Lexi to still have a lot of value and not get not milled out specifically, but lose a lot of card equity, and allow her to block and buy them time throughout the entire game, because endless arrow is just so efficient, allowing you to do that throughout the entire game, right? So he eventually, through this thinking, Michael decides that this is incredibly the best play, specifically in this moment. So he is coming in with endless arrow for 4, and then surely is going to Snapdragon Scalers no matter what. Looking at Joseph's side here, obviously has a great triple Ash play on turn 0, but does give up this going to be super powerful turn from Lexi, right? Lexi gets to have the 6-card hand this turn, so Joseph really is either going to be from a blocking position or needing to take a decent amount of damage to come in with all this, right? So no blocks it. Does have the sink below from Arsenal, which is going to be basically the best case scenario for him, right? Because that's like, and then gets to put the burn them all on the bottom, which is also really good because you have zero. You barely have a graveyard currently, so it's not going to get a lot of value or stay around for a lot of time. And you can see that he has Dominia and Dromai left in his hand, and gets a sigil, right? So this is like basically best opportunity just having a defense reaction because it's not going to break the wave of reality, right? Because he had basically the play of block for 3, wave of reality pops to prevent the 1, and then get the spectral shield for like follow up, right? So like he always could like one card basically snuff up this endless arrow here unless he like completely non-blocked it. But it's also the best so he doesn't have to pick up his arms yet. It doesn't have to get exposed. But Michael does have the 5 damage. Have the 5 damage arrow instead of like a 4 that you would get the initial value, like because you want to get the 4 and 4. So now he's kind of coming on a crossroads right here because like the Dominion is really good, but it does cost 4, so it's like a blue and another card, so you need a minimum of 3 card hand, and so he's either can block, and this hamstring shot, he's looking at 1 hamstring shot, and then he might see a second one come out this turn as well. So he's gonna block 5 on the first one here. And he's going to actually use the CNC to shoot for this 5, and then Arsenal and have the other card here. I think without an Arsenal, like obviously CNC isn't going to do much, and when your opponent is like aggressively blocking this hamstring shot like really aggressively, right? So you know that he really wants to use this 3 card hand. Probably is looking at something that's like decently specific, right? So and Josef also just doesn't have a play now, right? So his hand is, the blue 2 for 6. He can't play that because of the hamstring shot, right? Like, can't play Dominia because it costs 4 and it'll cost 5 because of the hamstring shot. Can't really block it out like efficiently either because you don't want to get rid of the Dominia because that's going to be like something that you can play to this game at the very beginning, and then he just has like a random sigil. So it's like his turn literally is just like he's gonna block 3. Like probably gonna block 3, take 2 here, like sigil, and then like Arsenal pass is like gonna be his entire turn. Like obviously Michael doesn't have anything else going for this turn, but he still gets like the Arsenal. He gets to like set up for the next turn. Always have like a 5 card hand because you're not doing anything, right? Like if you had like Josef has CNC here, it'd be pretty good, but like it really is just going to be sigil and then Arsenal this card. Also, he takes only 1 because of the arm piece. The arm piece is like, I know it's used in like a lot of Dromai lists, but like Dromai equipment changes so often from like it just like changes so often, right? So I never know like what is like the optimal list or not. Also something that's like pretty interesting is like the new red tome, you have to be royal, I believe, and he's using, Crown of Providence, right? So that's something that we probably won't see this game unless I'm like completely wrong in that you don't need to be royal for that, but I thought you had to be royal. So it does have an that's okay. So the last card in his hand wasn't a blue, it was an ice quake. So he actually had very little resources in that hand, and he was kind of glad that he could just double hamstring shot and pretty much get out of it, right? But this sets up like the really good, efficient play here because he has the frostbite, which is really bad for Dromai, right? Because there's mostly red cards, and he has the ice bolt. But this is going to be insane turn with rain razors and 3 of a kind, right? So. And he gets to play the ice quake from his arsenal with like the one floating, and he gets to like easily double arrow here and just like get to go off, right? Well, he gets to like he can double arrow and quiver, right? Which is like, I wonder, the question I always have on these turns, right, is like, say you have like he has 4 cards in his hand. Say he has like double blue, he has double blue, double red arrow, right? Like play ice quake, and then do you like after you play ice quake, do you start with activating quiver, and then like surely you start by activating quiver to see if you're gonna hit, and then you voltaire, but it doesn't look like he has like the double blue play, obviously. So uses a drill shot for 9 go again, on hit frostbite, on hit -1 to one of your things. Like, dude, it's actually crazy every time I look at like Lexi turns like this. Like, this is just like, it's this, another arrow, and then potentially a third arrow with quiver, or if he has like bulging shot or something like that, right? Like, it, like, this also has an on hit effect, and then like at minimum, like literally worst, like worst play here is like load, put the arrow in, and then just like pass, right? It's like, and then they shoot the other arrow and then have an arsenal, right? Like, literally the worst play that Michael has, specifically this turn, is just shooting another arrow for like 6 or 7 with an on hit and then passing, right? Like, imagine if it's actually your opponent's worst play is just to like shoot you for another like 6 or 7 with an on hit and like have an arsenal the next turn after presenting 9. So he's like minimum presenting 15, already like above the regular like 12 like threshold for like most of like the 4 card like 12 point value. Like, so you're above rate. All this, like, Lexi's just so like such an insane like deck to be able to do like everything like any time, right? So I don't know. I know a lot of people don't like Lexi and think like it should go, and it shouldn't be like, hopefully it's not a deck anymore. But like, obviously, like, hope it gets banned like pre-Pro Quest season, or like, but I kind of enjoy having like a best deck in a lot of formats, because having something that you need to beat, or having something that like having a deck that you need to beat, or having like a basis knowledge of like the format, is really good for like players that are not, not going to spend like an immense amount of time like going around a format, right? Like, something that I was a little concerned for, but like it should be fine, because like if you're playing a world championship, like, you should be able to adapt and like get through it, is that like specifically for worlds, like, we have like 11 days, right? So imagine like Lexi rotates pretty much like, I think it's almost like 100%, and then like Icelander is like the one where it's like might rotate, might not. So, but imagine it does rotate. So you're thinking like Lexi rotates and Icelander rotates, and then we're just looking at a metagame where like the best 2 decks rotate out of the format. It leaves Dromai, which was good in the was a really good deck, but is not like, but like not considered the best deck. Was like on, like, obviously I think Dromai is very good, got new powerful tools with the new tome, and should have the respect given, but like, is Dromai actually the best deck moving forward? And then you have like this new set of mechanologists, and then Dromai is like most likely either the best deck or one of the like top 3 best decks in the format, so you have to play around Dromai. But then the whole rest of the metagame is just like a constant state of like confusion at this point, right? Like how the angle of like where you attack like the metagame from 11 days before Worlds, in like a format that could be like, that is like a huge shakeup, right? Like 2 characters leaving, like Briar's not here anymore, there's no ice in the format anymore. Like, that's something that I really want to see, and so, like, I really want to test. So like, unfortunately, I really like playing Icelander, and like as a Wizard stand, like, I really don't want to see it like leave that quickly, because I didn't get to play it for like that long. Like I think it's been a year. Oh, has it been a year since Uprising? Around there. But that's something that I'm really like kind of looking forward to where I wonder if that's like the main like thought process. Like, I think it would be really cool to see a format from that way. Like, the only thing that I know about Worlds currently is that like Lexi will probably not be at Worlds, like, unless a miracle happens and like people just don't win with Lexi in the Pro Quest season, or like it doesn't win any of the callings or any of the Battle Hardens coming up before Worlds. And then Icelander is either in or out of the format. The only thing I know is just like draft of how it's going to be consistent, but it's also like a new draft format that like is very particular of like, it's just mechanologist, right? So like there's just so many different like areas of attack from Worlds that I'm like super excited for, and like this is just like the lead up to Worlds is the most excited I've probably been about like a format or multiple formats at the same time, right? Something that you just played that you usually don't see a lot of use for is like flicker trick, right? Is being able to block for like, it's a 0 for 5, but if it blocks something that's a 6, or if it gets pumped up to a 6, it just like immediately breaks, so it just like dies. Also something about this game that is like I don't see too often is that Dromai has literally 0 equipment pieces. The only thing Dromai has done this game is play Sigil and activate boots, and is full blocked the entire game, and is at 42 through a 3 of a kind and a Rain Razors, and multiple like 5-6 card hands, and like Tunic 3, multiple 4-5 like 5 like 6 card hands, and this is now going to be the second 3 of a kind here, and all he's done is just block out the entire time. It is something to note that because Lexi is so consistent in like hands and like threat density, that I wonder if is Josef really trying to fatigue Michael, right? Because Michael just went off of like almost like an hour long, like I think it was more than an hour in semifinals, playing against Azuri that was actively trying to disrupt and like kind of fatigue him, and then now he's playing against the Dromai, which has a very interesting start to where like he has been just blocking out basically the entire time. And can Michael like disrupt a game plan enough to get through all of this? And exactly when I say that, he just like non-blocks the 5, so it doesn't look like he's going to intently be full blocking everything no matter what. This is going to be like 2 coming in for 3, so like any 2 block here gets like immense value from Josef, so something that like he should be blocking pretty consistently unless he needs all 4 cards in his hand. So let's see what happens specifically in this block. Let's give him the Ravenous Rabble. Obviously doesn't have a board state yet, so Ravenous Rabble's equity is a little bit less. It's just as like a 0 for 4, because it's not turning on like dragons, and if he played a dragon this turn, it would have the natural go again because it is all the dragons are red cards. So then blocks for 6 here on the battering bolt, so gets to use one of these cards. He uses Quiver here, which is pretty interesting, just get, it does hit the arrow as well, so it is the blue card and then gets the 6 card hand here. So it's pretty obvious that like the card that he arsenaled is going to be a spell or like a non-attack action and not another arrow, because if he has another arrow he actually can't play unless it's like Falcon Wing, right? Falcon Wing is like the exception of like it is 3 go again like naturally and doesn't have to basically do anything for it. So it still is 40 to 37 here. Like it's been a lot of like kind of positioning at this point, which is pretty interesting. Usually I see a lot of these matchups be like decent blowouts, or the Dromai uses her life total to present a board state, and then Lexi's trying to attack Dromai and kill the board at like the same time, and then that's how like Dromai can get equity. But Dromai has actually nothing going on currently. Let's play this Premeditate. This is a card that has come in and out of lists I've seen a lot. I know like some top players think Premeditate is like super good and always play like 3. I've seen like 1-ofs or 2-ofs of Premeditate in a lot of lists. I've seen 0s in a lot of lists. This is like one of the pumps. Like there's a lot of pumps that you can run in Lexi that have all like additional effects. I think a Ponder token in Lexi is really good because basically every card can be played from your arsenal, or, like in one way or another. It's either the arrow or a non-attack or like any of this stuff. Like Lexi is fine because Lexi can always flip it up face up, and then like Voltaire, play the card from his arsenal, or like all these non-attacks, and like have it just be super efficient all the time, right? because Josef triple blocked the first attack, obviously is going to take a decent amount of damage on the other two. Looks like either the card in his hand doesn't block, or he can play the Arsenal card like it is a CNC or something like that to hopefully disrupt Michael this turn. Michael has, you know, another 5-card hand thanks to the Ponder, and did have a little bit of decision before he put it in there. Does just play a Wraith Ember, so this is like something that he needs to obviously makes 2 Ash here, and then comes in and makes 3 Ash Wings. He does need to have, like, this is the way he needs to like come back in this game, right? Like, is Michael really going to pop one of these Ash Wings just to stop like the other 2 Ash Wings coming in? Probably not, right? So he's just gonna basically take 3 here and then just play his like normal like 5-card hand, and then try to get Josef down. But Josef can always just play like just swing with an Ash Wing and have like more Ash Wings up, or if he has a 1-card hand like a Rabble, or you know, plays a 0-cost dragon and swings with everything, you can do a lot of like insequential damage that you wouldn't really think about that often, because he is probably going to be full blocking like the majority of this game, right? Like, he's at 30, 0 equipment again, like nothing to help him out with blocks besides like whatever he just draws. So he is looking at like a particular area, but this game is like still very winnable for Dromai, right? Like, he has to have, he can definitely trade damage from here. Like, this is how he starts trading damage, right? Like, has an Ash Wings, maybe takes like a good chunk of like 8 to try to make, you know, 2 dragons in 1 turn, and like hope that Michael has to take a decent amount of time off like clearing certain dragons, so that he can then have like a good like another 3-4 card hand to present to either to make more dragons, or like be able to attack and like actually present damage back to the Lexi player. Because like, without being able to present damage to Lexi just gets to like loot 5-card hands against you, and that's like where Lexi wants to be like pretty much the entire game. Is like, if your opponent's just like blocking you out, like you have all these effects, you have all these 2-for-1s in your deck, like your opponent probably mills out faster than you. Like, if you see in, I remember playing a lot of like Oldham versus Lexi, and a lot of the games would go to fatigue. Like, it was a matchup where Bolt and Shot and Remembrance were used to like mill out the Oldham, which is like something that I didn't really expect to happen. But it was weird that Lexi could fatigue the Oldham in the other way. Looking at this game, Michael is still deciding. He's going to block with the Hornets and kill the Ash Wing that he is blocking to basically stop the turn. Wondering why you just don't take 3 here. It does get to kill Ash Wing basically, but you can have that play no matter what you do throughout like every turn cycle, right? So, but does get to start with 6 go again, because we only do play red Ice Quakes in this list, I believe, and the Winter Bite blue for the ice cards. So obviously starting with this Falcon Wing for 6 go again, super strong. Being able to just come in for 6, and then you can still double load if you have double 0, or you can have a 0 and 1 here and just triple arrow. Your opponent can't swing the Ash Wing because of the Frostbites unless he keeps a decent amount of his hand, and this is like not even the arrow with an on hit besides the Frostbite, right? So there's more on hits that you probably want to save cards for, unless you're really just going to be like, I'm going to block for 6 and then I will take insequential chip damage for the rest of the game, which is pretty hard to do. It's really hard to block Lexi out. Lexi just has like such efficiency on all of her cards. Can't really mill Lexi out like too efficiently besides like Oldham. Oldham was like the only one that really could, because he had Crown Shield, which could cover up a lot of like the 4s, And I love that matchup because you had to respect them, like Codex blowing you out at the end of the turn, basically. So does have Rain Razors here, but does look like there's double defensive reaction in Joseph's hand, so it does get to cover up this 8, but is going to have a second arrow, which is will always hit with like the Ice Quake here, which is pretty good. Looks like Josef just has it looks like a flicker trick, which he can't use in this turn because the Remembrance is going to be higher than 6, so it would pop it. So can either block for 3 here, which is the safest play because he's going to take a Frostbite, so you can't just play this E-Strike from hand and like bottom the flicker risk and, you know, probably draw a card. So he just has to block for 3, take 5, pass. So Remorseless is one of those cards that every time I see it, the effect is either the best thing in the matchup or doesn't really matter, is like probably going to do an extra 1 or 2. But I've been playing a lot of Fi against Lexi's to like test the matchup out again, because I've heard it's like should be better than it was, but I also don't believe a lot of people when they say like Fi should be good into a lot of matchups these days. Fi just like doesn't seem very well positioned currently, like because Lexi's just so efficient and can. I think you should be playing Red Arctic in Lexi right now as well, especially for like I think the mirror is really good, and versus all these Mechanologists is really good, especially Max Nitro. It's just a complete hoser in that matchup. Swings the game most of the time. So let's look at what Michael can do this turn here. Looks like he has at least 2 arrows in his hand. Does have a Premeditate as well. So is this his second or third Premeditate of the game? So Michael is pretty much favoring multiple copies of this Premeditate. At least, so he's on the idea that Premeditate is something that should be included a lot of the time. Then most other people does have. Oh, this is very interesting here. This is a lot of value off like random blues, right? Searing Shot is like considered one of like the best blues in Lexi specifically because it's like 4 attack blue, which is just like actually insane. And say Josef has just a 2 block in hand, like this punishes him multiple ways, deals 4 damage, like now gets him a Ponder, which he can like freely have an arsenal and then have, you know, he's free to have a 5-card hand. He could also draw into like a Pauper. I know usually Lexi is running like 6 to 7 Paupers these days, which is not a high amount. We did see CNC go to the bottom, so probably only looking at about like 5 to 6 like natural Paupers left in this deck. And we did just see a Bolton Shot as well. This is going to be the second Bolton Shot, so does just have a Remembrance in hand from Josef, so it's just going to get probably just 3 dragons back. I know Rake's also super strong in this matchup, so getting that Rake back. But Michael like aggressively popping this Ashwing here, although like it would only do 2 damage, and Michael's still at 40, is just, you could tell that he like very much is prioritizing not taking chip damage, right? He does not want to see what like Josef has in his arsenal randomly, doesn't want to see like basically anything that Michael does. Michael doesn't want to leave himself open to getting blown out from different Dromai stuff, right? So he's going to take the very, I don't know if it's an aggressive line, but the very safe option of like, I will kill all of your dragons most of the time when it's convenient to me, and then I'll then make you make the decision to take damage. And especially because the Dromai is at 21, you can't really take too much more damage to save cards anymore. So he pretty much has 1 turn where he can like no block like 12 damage and just hope that the board state that he presents is good enough to where Michael will take the time to clear it to allow him to like open himself back into the game, right? So Michael is starting off with Searing Shot for 4 with Go again on hit, deal an extra damage. Looking at a lot of cards in both graveyards here. Something you see a decent amount when you're in the top 8 is like people just like looking at graveyards like pretty much every other turn, although not much has changed. That's like one thing that I always say is I remember like pretty much every card my opponent has played during the game, just because of like how much time I've had to spend like pitch stacking my own deck and then learning like what my opponent pitched like to like counter pitch stack me in Kano, to where I have to think about what they pitch and what I pitch. So cards that I've been playing throughout the game, I don't have to like go back and like check graveyards to see if you played something, unless you haven't played a card at all, to where I'm like, have they really not played one of these, or have I forgotten? So always something that I think is very interesting, watching a lot of people take a significant amount of time to look at graveyards like every single game, especially in these top 8s. It's very important to know what your opponent has played, but pretty weak hand from Michael here. Like, had the 2 cost, which he could have played this turn, right? Like he could have played Searing Shot, played the 2 cost arrow, and called it a day. But instead he popped the Ashwing, and now he's looking at Dromai. Does block with the CNC, so is playing multiple CNCs. Sometimes I only see Dromai play 1 CNC, but Michael is playing 2 in his list, and 2 in his list in Bolton shots. Haven't seen a Death Touch yet. Usually it's the other like 6 powers Death Touch. I think Death Touch is really good. Really good equity a lot of the times, but it's more situational, because it has to be in your arsenal for you to play it, versus like CNC you can always cast in your hand, and Bullet Shot obviously you can load. So first damage Michael has taken this entire game is this Dust Up Red. So go to make an Ash, chooses not to make the Ashwing, so is valuing the Ash over. Last card in his hand last turn was Winter's Bite, so giving this opponent that Frostbite. Something that I really like with Winter's Bite specifically is that you can play this, you can just hold it. Like, you don't have to play the Winter's Bite like immediately when you flip it over. You can just load, shoot an arrow, load, shoot that second arrow, and then hold Winter's Bite to, if your opponent wants to, like if your opponent no blocks the first arrow, you could play Winter's Bite and then shoot the second one. So like, because your opponent's trying to have an explosive turn through this Frostbite, you can punish that by making them basically discard a card with Winter's Bite, and then having to additionally pay through the Frostbite, making their turn even worse the following turn to try to swing the game back into you. Bolden Shot Red doesn't have really much value because he does have the face up Winter's Bite here, but is pretty face up of I'm just going to load shoot both turns. Like, that's all he's going to do this turn, is he's going to shoot both arrows and call it a day. So that's something that Lexi is quite good at. Like, you can play 3-card hands like so efficiently, because you just pitch a blue. Like, if you have a 0 and then a 1, it's just played off a blue with Voltaire, or like he has Tunic on 3, so you can play double 0. Just Lexi's just so efficient with like her 3-card hands, her 4-card hands, her 5-card hands, like having additional like arsenal blocks. Like, this character's so good, which I do like seeing. I think Lexi's like maybe not the most fair broken deck in the format, but is not a bad meta game, I'll say, for a lot of the time. Lexi's just super efficient, but probably won't actually ever be played in LL unless very specifically trying to snipe a specific meta that LL develops. Because I don't think you're beating Starvo ever with like Lexi. You're not beating Prism. You're probably beating up on Chain. Maybe Chain's like might be a hard matchup for you. You might be playing, probably beating up on Briar specifically because Briar's probably playing more of like that lightning build. So Code of Inertia here actually. Code of Inertia is. I've always wondered if you should be playing this strictly just for Icelander or should be playing Code of Inertia in like a lot of matchups, because the Inertia's super strong here because he already used one card. Already used one card to pitch, and then you discard the second card. So, and then say he shot, like he had an arrow, he has to decide either to block the arrow and let the arsenal go, or like now he's kind of forced into playing the arsenal card no matter what it is, unless it's or just giving it up, right? Let's have another dragon. It's the green dragon. Yenderai, I think is the name. It's the one with the one of the counters that prevents 3 basically on it. So this is coming with the Ashwing here. So unless the card in his arsenal is specifically a 0 cost, doesn't look like he's going to get Inertia token's going to get a lot of the value and just putting it to the bottom. Let's see if it is a 0 cost for him to cast it, or no. So it just looks like the card is just going to go to the bottom here. So Inertia token is quite good. Also leads into this turn to where you know he can't have a defensive reaction in his arsenal, and you just get to play. You just get to play this like 6-card hand and always deal damage to your opponent. Plus, you get to start with this one just without giving your opponent the information of the other card in your hand. So it is going to be another one of those Ice Quakes, right? So this is the 3rd red Ice Quake, I believe. Does have Sigil in his hand, so only has 2 cards he can block with, and he can't even play Sigil because of the Frostbite on the field. So realistically, at a 25 life total currently, which is like very plausible to kill as Lexi. Like you could really play Ice Quake here, double load. Second card could be a Bolton Shot, like Bolton Shot reload shoots a 3rd arrow. Like you're probably decently close to 25. Random bonobo fact will let you unified track. I know. Something that was really funny this entire weekend is watching. While I was watching like most of these games, is that like Flake talking about like the apes was just like, and like Flake being considered an ape like the entire weekend, and like not even leading the pack. Like the photo that they photoshopped of like Flake literally is just like him in the back. It's not even like him leading a pack of gorillas. So like I was like, oh, poor Flake, bro. Plays 3 of a kind here. So that's the 3rd 3 of a kind in this game. So I know he's played 2 Rain Racers, 3 of a kinds. Hasn't played a Codex of Frailty yet. I know he pitched at least 1, and he did pitch 1 like early into the game. I don't think we've seen a second one, but see an Inertia Codex. This is going to be the 3rd Ice Quake. So a lot of he's played at least 2 premeditates. I don't know if he played the 3rd one yet, but he's gotten through a decent amount of like the non-attack actions in Lexi. So we'll just have to play out the arrows for most of the rest of the game. But it's not a bad place to be as Lexi either. Like Lexi cards, very efficient, very good. Can make it pretty hard for your opponent to block everything out here, especially because he just doesn't have armor anymore. Like Josef aggressively blocked with his armor early and has just been slowly bleeding while Michael has controlled this game throughout all these turns. We're on turn 10 here, so has looked at like, looked at about 40 cards, so about like half, a little bit more than half your deck has been seen. Especially because he's drawn 9 cards off 3 of a kinds. He's probably seen a little bit more than half of his deck. Does look he has mostly reds in his hand and like 1 yellow. Yeah, so it looks like 4 or 5 reds and then the yellow, right? Michael, very particular in like how he wants to play a lot of these turns, is really always tries to find the very best line. Doesn't place things really quickly. Is trying to be the most efficient that he can be every single turn. So obviously this turn, I don't think he can play this Icequake because he has all these reds in his hand. So he only has 3. He has 3 more cards, double red and a yellow here. So, but the yellow is going to be the Bolton shot specifically. So if the other red is a 0, he could load the yellow Bolton, reload the 0-cost arrow, shoot the other 0-cost arrow, and then arsenal it, Icequake the following turn with the 0-cost arrow in arsenal, be able to like triple arrow the following turn as well. Is probably like the best outcome he can have. Or he can just shoot like a 1-cost arrow here, which is also super efficient. Let's see what Michael does. Does look like he has Endless Arrow and Heat Seeker in his hand, and there's only 1 card from Josef with a Frostbite. This is the yellow, which would come in for 4. So maybe he's playing around. I mean, he's okay. It does come in for 6 with the Heat Seeker. This is one of the. Is Heat Seeker a maybe ability or no? Because we know this is going to come up. I guess it's like pretty free, and he's keeping the Endless Arrow in his hand and just shooting a 1-cost arrow that is going to cost more. So he wants to be like super mana efficient because you know he's going to play the Icequake, so he's going to be like -1 resource the following turn as well. Pretty interesting. I think you're able to do maybe a little bit more damage if you're playing like the double 0-cost with like the Bolton shot and pitching, and then you're still you get to arsenal the Endless Arrow as well. But and then basically do this play, but instead of having Drill Shot, you have Endless Arrow and you're drawing the Drill Shot. I don't know. I think both plays are fine. I think this is basically always keeping like 2 cards for the next turn. Maybe he loses like a point, maybe a point or 2 damage because you presented 5, he blocked for 3, took 2, versus you shoot for 4, block with you take 1, shoot for another 4, so he loses 3 points. So he does lose a little bit of damage here, but I think he's just so far ahead. Like, I think he's so far ahead, I don't think it matters. Like, I think Michael has to like fully like draw like quad blue or draw basically every spell left in his deck and just not have a chance to play anything. So does finally get the sigil out of his arsenal here. So it goes to 16. And then takes the. I think we go to 16, but 13. No. Oh no, it goes to 15 and then takes 1 and go to 14. Now gets to play the Endless Arrow, and he can pop back to his hand and then play the Bolton shot at the end, the Drill Shot at the end as well. Then Arsenal, and then if it's not a non-attack in his hand, yeah, okay, so blocks it out fully because the Bolton shot really isn't. It's just 4. It's just vanilla 4 because he has no armor. So it just is going to be vanilla 4. Give him a second Frostbite, but it doesn't matter because he has no cards in his hand, so he can't swing the stuff anymore. Does get to draw back up, recycle this 5-card hand. Like, this entire game has been Lexi dominated, and like maybe Josef needed to like bet the game on like one of these random hands, but it's so hard to see that when you blocked like pretty efficiently through the early game, but did have to use like all of your armor. But now you're just like slowly dying to every single. You're like slowly dying to every single turn by Lexi, right? Like all these cards are just better than your cards currently, and it's actually insane to watch here. Does look like he has a pretty weak hand. Oh, I'll pitches the CNC first because he knows he's playing Codex Frailty, so has to get out all these first. I see Brody in the corner here. I forgot if Brody casted this finals. It's always really good to see, like, I think Armada and Flake are my absolute favorite casting duo of, like, not all time, because I think like there was like a SUG Magic. I'm forgetting their names, but that was my favorite duo of all time. I think Armada and Flake are like the flush butt equivalent of them, and like every single weekend, if I see them casting like together, I'm like, yo, this is gonna be a good weekend, you know. Always good to watch. Pretty much all of it has the Winter's Bite in his hand, so not another arrow to like second load here. So, but is just gonna tax him that extra card, and then Codex is gonna get definitely 1 for 5 arrow here, probably a. Like, surely he's just playing, like, Infecting Shot to do 5 and Threatening 7. So it does Codex. And then, plus, Joseph's gonna have to put an attack in. Oh, gets the CNC as well to come in for 6. And, like, always is also always going to kill whatever card Joseph puts in Arsenal. And so, doesn't get the Arsenal. Always gonna get CNC'd. Yeah, just take 6 here. Damn, this is so. Actually, pretty interesting. He doesn't discard the E-pot. He discards the 3 block to not save 3 life. I just think like you're not winning anyways, but at least he gets to play E-pot to like have the hope of being able to keep like 1 or 2 cards, like pop E-pot, like try to crawl back into this game, but at 4, you're basically full blocking for the rest of the game. Lexi again gets to have another 5-card hand from the Ponder token. Looking at it, so man, it's an absolute demolish of a game, just showing how Lexi just like controls matchups, and like I consider like Lexi Dromai to be a very close matchup with like a lot of interesting points, and this was just like. This was not one of those games. This was not one of those games to where it was a close lot of decision points. It was, Michael got to play 4 or 5 card hands every single turn, and Joseph blocked every turn and then died. So, I think Joseph. How many cards did Joseph play this game? Do you play like, besides defense reactions, because we don't count those? Played the Rake, played the Enderai, played the E-Pot, and then pitched to the Time Skippers? Is that literally all you did this game? Besides blocking and playing E-Pots? Is that actually every... Wow. Yeah, played 3 cards and pitched to Time Skippers, full blocked and died. Wow. Yeah. I mean... Yeah. Yeah, it's so hard to... If you're not disrupting Lexi, right? Is that... If you don't have like super efficient like armor that blocks or able to disrupt Lexi, she just gets to do this, and you're just like in this endless cycle of like full blocking until you die, and then didn't get to build like a board state besides this Ashwing and Senderai, and like just had like countless ice cards to make it so that you couldn't even attack through it. And man, this was just like masterclass here of just being able to play this matchup and other stuff. Michael drops a water bottle, places it back, drops again to drink a different water bottle here. That's dedication to hydration right there. That is straight up dedication to hydration. Dropping the water bottle, picking up another water bottle, drops, trying to pick up that water bottle, place it back, that one drops again, picks up the one that has water in it, drinks it, goes back to analyzing the game. True master class of hydration currently. Loads is remorseless. Comes in for 5 here. Looking at DR double 3. No, it looks like a Rake. Yeah, so Rake 3 block sigil defense reaction here, so he's not gonna play. I don't think he's playing any cards, so like I don't think the remorseless. The remorseless doesn't really have an on hit here. He's really it's just gonna be flat 5 damage. So best opportunity currently is coming in for 5 damage, loading second arrow, Codex, discarding the last card from Joseph's hand, and then coming in for lethal. I think no matter what happens, Michael should always win this turn if he has the second arrow. Which Michael looks like he has a second arrow here, I believe. Can't really see his hand. I love the hand cams from that Minmax does, and well, it's not specifically Minmax, but it's Ethan Van Sant's amazing coverage every single weekend. Has the hand cams too for that was something that I think Fab needs more than like basically any other card game, is just knowing the decision tree of like people's hands in Fab is like such a better experience. You just can't like, it's so hard to look at like a game of Fab and not know somebody's hand and like really know the thought process of going into it, because it is just like really a blocking game that sometimes you attack with different cards. You're drawing evil Michael here. Is he sad or is he evil? That's kind of interesting. Joseph's still thinking about this block here. I wonder if he's thinking like, okay, if I block 5 here, has a second arrow, you defensive reaction, block that one. He plays Codex, you sigil, go to 7, and then you don't die. I think that's the only way you don't die, but you still get to cycle another 5-card hand from Michael, which is crazy. Did Michael EXO? I wonder if he EXO'd this tournament. Oh, there we go. And they're making the Lexi the evil one. Lexi is the evil one. Lexi is the evil one here. Okay, so does block for 5 here. Michael, I know, has Winter's Bite and another card, but does have Epot, so he's not going to get blown up by Winter's Bite here. I think if he had, I think the Winter's Bite arrow combo is very, very big lethal. Michael talking about something, they're joking around. Looks like Drill Shot and the Winter's Bite. I believe this is the 3rd Winter's Bite as well, so playing Winter's Bite to get the Epot out isn't like immense equity here either, because he just gets to pop the Epot, you load, go again with Drill Shot, play Codex, come in for 5, and Joseph lose from that position. The Ashwing's name's Jeremy now as well. I like Jeremy being in the Ashwing. Jeremy's always a nice name. Oh, then Franco for the center guy. It's always really funny to watch the games. The PTI will expire before the next game action. It's really funny to watch like production with like without hearing the commentators talk about it, and like, because I think Flake and Armada do such a great job about like making it super entertaining with like all the different like just like funny objects every single time. Discard a frailty action card from the giver face down to the arsenal. Each player that does discards a card. Okay, so he's going with pretty interesting play. So he's going with the CNC play here, to where your opponent discards a card and then you come in with CNC, and you always kill basically the arsenal with like the CNC, because your opponent has 2 cards, goes to 1 card, can't block 6, like destroys his arsenal. But I was wondering if he came in with the drill shot in his hand, if he always comes with a drill shot with go again, he either blocks with a card. He probably blocks with a card and then dies. That's pretty interesting. I would have guessed he. Did he miss lethal this turn because he blocks with a card then codexes? So he goes to 7, takes 6, goes to 1. But if he would have played drill shot and he blocked and played sigil, no, it's the same. It's the same thing because he has specifically sigil, right? Because in response to you get to block the drill shot, and then in response to the codex making you discard a card, you sigil, and then still get the card to your arsenal, and then but the arsenal always pops because of the CNC. Does still have this E-pot though, and then he does get to arsenal another card, which is pretty key as well. Damn, he gets to take and gets to deal 3 damage with his hand card and going to 1, bro. This is broken. All right, has a Winter's Bite here. So if he had a defensive reaction in his hand, he has to pop the E-pot like that second, and then but doesn't have one, so he's not popping the E-pot. Can't blow up the E-pot. See, like once he lets this like Frostbite resolve, like he can't. They can Winter's Bite, and then basically like Josef should always die, right? But if he pops the E-pot, then you don't have to activate Winter's Bite, and so the following turn you die. So it's like you have to choose like what turn you want to die on. Like you gotta hope that his hand isn't good enough to kill you in this turn, which doesn't look like it. He's like we are very very far into our decks currently, and so as you can see from Michael, like he pitched a blue, played a blue, is now playing the Winter's Bite, so he's gonna pitch that card. Has 2 cards in his hand. Looks like they're all 3 blocks though. So like, if he has like Michael's best opportunity is like 1 cost arrow, or have we played 3 codexes, or have we played 2? I mean, I guess the actual best case scenario for Michael is having like 0 or 1 cost arrow, and then having codex again, because he has to block this card, which is primarily a blue. Oh yeah, it does have codex too. Oh my god. Oh yeah, it's over. All right, Michael, this is an absolute masterclass, man. Like that game was just every single thing that you could do in a matchup is just like from a Lexi side to keep control of a game and never lose it. Michael did. So just an absolute masterclass by reigning Pro Tour champion Michael Fang, and as it's always good to see, even seeing like matchups like this to where it was very very one-sided. It's always good to see like the decision process, how like particular Michael played the game and thought about very intricate decisions that could have been played very differently, right? Like even me looking at it, like thinking like, oh, you could do this, but setting up additionally more cards, setting up additionally more extra turns, like in the moment, being able to just take every single card from Josef's hand every single turn and just never have an opportunity of losing that game is just immaculate seeing that. Well, Michael did win, and that's going to be it for the video today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.